Paramedics Mind presents Spooktober.
This story was unlike any I had covered before. Murders and happenings alike are commonplace in almost any city. But this was different. Over the last 2 years, 9 bodies had turned up, all of them connected by the same grisly detail. At least one organ from each person was taken and missing, but never the same one. The manner at which these organs had been removed was skillful and purposeful. The police suspected a menacing killer with medical background, but with nothing else to go on, they still had no concrete leads. It's not often that the stories I cover keep me up at night, but this one was, as I said, unlike anything. I live in Salem, Massachusetts. Have all my life. I work for the Salem Tribune. Crimes of the peculiar are not out of place here. That said, more often than not, they're crimes closer to innocuous or mischievous in nature over anything as savage as this. Though, I suppose one could argue that Salem is home to a savage history, isn't it? I was sitting at my favorite coffee house. Rain pelted the window beside me. Crazed notes that I had taken lay strewn before me as I struggled to make sense of them. My penmanship was not the hurdle I was attempting to overcome. It was the why, the who. Who could be doing this and why? I pored over case notes, detective statements, family interviews, and everything relevant to the case. And outside of that heinous knowledge of missing organs, nothing made sense. None of these victims knew one another. None of them were the same age, ethnicity, or resemblance. It was baffling. Clearly, we had the hallmarks of an emerging serial killer, but no profile to rely upon. This was just madness. In a moment of mental defeat, I flung myself back against my chair and inhaled a bewildered breath, followed by an elongated sigh. I knew there was a story here, a connection, something that tied this all together. I just couldn't see it. Yet. Deciding to take a break and refill my Americano, I made my way over to the counter. I placed my order, and while waiting, visually absorbed the Halloween decor festooned throughout the place. Halloween. How fitting. A killer on the loose and people losing organs. It was in the midst of that introspective monologue that the headline of my unwritten story was born. The Halloween Slayer. After getting my order, I walked back to my table and quickly made note of that title. With fresh caffeine in hand and blood, I once again fell into paperwork. Line by line, I read and reread everything that I had on this godforsaken case. And as luck, or fate, depending on your beliefs, would have it, the sinew I'd been looking for began to emerge. In front of me, I had the victims' medical records and autopsy reports, and as I read over each of them, something of note took hold. Each of the victims were recipients of past organ donations. Each victim had either been in some medical distress or bad accident, and remarkably, all had received organ transplantations. I read over what I was uncovering a few more times before deciding to call my contact at the Salem Police, Detective Cozy. I phoned him and explained what I was working on and asked him to come and meet with me. He did. As I shared my findings with Cozy, our faces revealed the same expression of disbelief. I really had uncovered something. I got to ride with Detective Cozy as he went to request emergency release of medical information regarding donors. It was granted, and the records were sent over to his work email. Cozy was a good detective. He'd been on the job for a while now. Salem and the media trusted him. I trusted him, and he trusts me, hence my unfettered access to what was unfolding. Now nearing 3 a.m, another chilling eureka moment befell us. Each of the victims had received organs from the same donor. A deceased woman by the name of Agatha Malkovich. She'd succumbed to death after a tragic vehicle accident had left her brain dead. But the more remarkable discovery came when we uncovered her husband, Dr. Ivan Malkovich Jr., a physician with specialization in genetics and a postdoctorate in eugenics. Our eyes lit up like heating elements. Cozy threw me a generic ballistic vest and told me to follow him. I didn't argue. With a screaming horde of cherries and berries escorting our unmarked police cruiser, we made our way to the listed address of Dr. Ivan Malkovich. My heart was in the base of my throat. Had we done it? Had we really cracked the case and were now sprinting against the clock to apprehend this monster? Only time would tell. Dr. Malkovich's estate dwelled at the very tip of Juniper's Point in Salem's northeast end, a sprawling Gothic structure that invokes unease upon its very sight. Like a scene from a bad cop movie, gaggles of police officers and detectives swarmed the steps leading to the front door. The police made entry and did indeed discover Dr. Ivan Malkovich Jr. He did not resist nor rebuke. He, an unassuming man, complied with police direction and was arrested without incident. Now, you'd be justified in thinking that the story has now culminated into a reasonably predictable and contextually happy ending. But I'm here to tell you that this story is just beginning. Malkovich was the killer. He even confessed. But more distressing than the murders themselves was the motive. Dr. Ivan Malkovich was killing any and all who held his wife's organs and retrieving them for something else. Someone else. Dr. Ivan Malkovich Jr. was reclaiming his wife's lost organs in bizarre hopes of reviving his beloved. Upon his revelation, the police made further horrifying discovery. On a table in Malkovich's basement lay a patchwork facsimile of the human form, and woven within that monstrous creation were the organs of Agatha, placed with precision as if to be a goddamn human puzzle piece. The police removed the body and had it transported to the Salem morgue. The night Agatha's disfigured corporeal creation was moved is the very night I started refusing to sleep at night. As Agatha was being carted to the morgue, Salem's weather took a turn. The sky broke and rain fell in deluge to the streets below. Before the wagon made it to the mortuary, a freak bolt of lightning struck a tree beside the wandering vehicle. A violent conduction of electricity vilified the water and engulfed the moving vehicle. The driver was killed instantly, as was the passenger. When emergency crews arrived on scene, Agatha was nowhere to be found. It's as if she got up and walked away. Now to the reason I no longer sleep. Roughly 2 years ago, I was sick. Really sick. So sick, in fact, that without a liver transplant, I'd be dead. And luck be what it is, I got one. You see, the reason I was so closely guarded by Detective Cozy is because my name was on the list of donor recipients. Agatha's liver was now my liver. And according to Dr. Ivan Malkovich Jr., she would certainly want it back.